So listen, there's less than 2 weeks to go until Classic comes out. You've downloaded the game, you've downloaded your add-ons, hopefully you've found a guild by now. If not, join my guild on Herod. You've fought through the 10,000 person queue to get the name Fex, and now you're just waiting for Daddy Blizzard to turn the game on. There's nothing left to do, right? It's time to kick back and relax.
Wrong.
That's the kind of thing a casual would say. And you, my friend, you're not a casual. So on this channel, we're going to talk about 3 things that can help your launch go extra smooth and help you get in front of the crowd. My name is Arctic Bjorn, and after this, I'm going to share with you my secrets. Look, I'm not here to share the same nonsense you hear on every other channel about preparing for a launch, okay? I'm not going to talk to you about making sure your interface is ready, making sure your add-ons are ready, making sure you take care of your health. You look me in the eye and tell me that you aren't willing to die over a perfect Classic re-release. Didn't think so. So, what can you do to get ready? What can you do to get ahead of the crowd? Because if you don't get ahead of that crowd, you might as well just log off for the night. Your launch is done, okay? Who wants to spend 6 hours the first night fighting over the same spawns and the same loot and all that stuff, only to get to like level 6 by the end of it, okay? If you're not ahead of the crowd, just log out. Have a good night. Your launch is over. So let's get into these tips to help you avoid that kind of thing. Tip number 1, and probably the most important tip on this list, is know your route. There is nothing more important to a smooth release than knowing what you're going to be doing. Let me ask you a question. You've gone through all this stuff, you've known about Classic for years, you're starting to get hype. Do you have the first 10 things you're going to do listed out in your head? Probably not. You might be thinking, Arctic, I've leveled plenty of characters during the stress test and when playing vanilla before, like I know the general area. Yeah, that's not going to be good enough, okay? You're fighting against, in certain cases on Herod, probably like 3,000 or 4,000 people. And sure, layering may help, but do you really want to rely on how reliant layering has been? I didn't think so. There is nothing more important than knowing your route. Not your health, not your e-girlfriend that goes to another school, not your anime waifu, nothing. So my first tip to you is know your route you're going to be taking. And a good example of this I can speak to on the Horde. Okay? In Duratar, there's a lot of quests that you can skip. You can skip the Candied Apple quest if a lot of people are taking the Cactus Apples. Okay? The other big one you can skip is the Scorpids. Not a lot of people know this, but the Scorpid Tail collection quest is actually lower on Classic than it was on private servers. And that quest doesn't lead to anything else. So that's a perfect example of a quest that you can skip if the Scorpids are like camped by everyone else to get a little bit ahead of the group. Okay? Another example, Tyrus Fall Glades. One of the second quest you pick up is to kill 8 of each type of zombie and then 12 rattle cage skeletons. Skip it. Totally useless. It's a dead-end quest. It doesn't lead to anything else. The amount of time you're going to spend trying to find, especially the rattle cage skeletons, is going to cost you so much precious time. Okay? I've watched people spend up to just an hour and a half trying to finish those quests. So by the time I'm like level 8, I've still seen people stuck on level 3 still trying to get those things. So this is a perfect example of knowing your route so you can skip to avoid that kind of stuff, okay? There's a lot of technical mastery that goes into this. You need to know at what level you can turn in quests, or what percentage of a level you can turn in quests to level. You need to know where you can stuck and unstuck to teleport to the nearest graveyard. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into this, okay? It's not just like a YOLO, let's wing it, okay? If you want to be ahead of the crowd and not have to just waste the rest of your night, you need to know exactly where you're going, okay? So tip number 1, and if you take anything away from this video, is know your route. And to help with that, there are plenty of videos online. Maybe if this video does well enough, I'd be willing to share my tips. But to be honest, I'm on Herod, so I'm going to be fighting through a bunch of people. So we'll have to see. We'll see how that goes. But that's the first tip for you. Plan your route out ahead of time. Pull up maps, pull up quest objectives, pull up Questy the add-on if you want, but know where you're going and know what you need to skip so that you can get ahead of the masses. It is vital to a smooth launch to get ahead of that stuff. Tip number 2, know your limits. What do I mean by this? Didn't you just say, Arctic, not to worry about your health? Of course I'm not talking about your health, right? Trips to the hospital? Temporary. But you only get 1 second release of World of Warcraft Vanilla, okay? Don't waste it. What do I mean by know your limits? you're probably doing good. If you planned your route out ahead of time, you're probably doing well. Maybe you're 12, 13, 14, 15. You're taking your first steps out of Weenie Hut Jr. and you're going into the real world. Okay, this is where the boys start to become men. What do I mean by know your limits? Know your spells. Know how much you can pull without being endangered. At no point should you be higher than 50% health unless you're eating and drinking, right? You see the people walking around at 80, 90% health and they're just killing one mob at a time. They're going to fall way behind, okay? Push the limits of your character. Don't die, because that slows you down, but push the limits of your character. Pull 2 things at once. Once you get comfortable with that, start pulling 3 things at once. The more things you can pull, the faster you're going to get ahead of the group, okay? I'm leveling an undead mage, so if you see me out there in the wild, you're going to see me pull 1 thing, right? Literally all I do is tab, frostbolt, tab, frostbolt, tab, frostbolt. Okay, I'll pull 3, 4 things at a time. I've gotten to the point where I know about where I can go and how much I can do before I die, and that helps me get way ahead, especially on kill and collection quests, because people who stop to do 1 at a time, they don't get to tag as many mobs, and they get pulled back into the crowd. Don't do that. The second thing about knowing your limits, right? Again, not talking about health. Once you step out into a PvP zone, assuming you're playing on a PvP server, and if you're not playing on a PvP server, like, why are you even playing? I thought you wanted the authentic classic experience, but whatever. You know, if you're playing on a PvP server, situational awareness is important, okay? Things change when I step into Tar and Mill, right? Because now all of a sudden I got to worry about alliance. So maybe my pulls are 3, 4, 5 things, go down to maybe 2 or 3 things at a time, as long as I, you know, make sure I know I'm safe. The other thing is know major abilities. Okay, this seems like a no-brainer, right? You're thinking to yourself, yeah, okay, I know what level I get my skills at. Fine, I know what skills I should buy. I've seen other videos that tell me only buy the important skills. Sure, great. Do you know what skills other players have? Did you know that at level 10, mages get Frost Nova? Probably not important to you until the first time you get ganked by a mage, right? Or you're going to gank a mage and they freeze you in place. So thinking that just knowing your own class is enough on a PvP server? No. You gotta know. You gotta know at what levels things become dangerous. So just keep that in mind as you're going. Tip number 2, knowing your own abilities, know your limits, and pull as much as you can without dying. Okay, that's gonna separate you. World of Warcraft is a grind, so the more things you grind, the faster you grind them, the better off you're gonna be. Tip number 3. What is your plan at 60? Okay, sure, that might be a week away, right? It might take you up to a week, maybe up to 2 weeks. What are you doing at 60? It's the same concept as what you're doing at level 1, right? All these people focus on getting to level 60, which, by the way, I'm sorry to tell you this, a lot of you guys aren't even going to make it to level 60. But this channel's not for casuals. I believe in all of you. You're all going to make it. I take it back. You're all going to make it to level 60. What's your plan when you get there? Right? It's great that you've dinged level 60. And everyone knows the general steps getting ready for raid. You got to get your attunements. You got to get your best in slot. Okay? But that first week, that's where there's money to be made in any expansion launch. Okay? You ask any of the gold makers in retail World of Warcraft where they make the most money, it's launches and patch launches. Okay? That first week is vital because you guys aren't casuals, so you're going to get to 60 before the rest of the crowd, right? How are you going to take advantage of that? What's your plan? Okay, I personally, to share my plans, I'm going to be dungeon leveling, okay? By the time I hit 60, I'm going to be attuned for Molten Core, I'm going to be mostly attuned for Onyxia's Lair, and I'm going to have pretty much my best in slot gear, okay? So what am I going to do? I'm going to head straight out to Winterspring and Fellwood, and I'm going to start farming fell cloth, and I'm going to get my professions up to buff. Okay, I'm an engineer, so I'm going to get all my engineering stuff ready because I'm going to be a rank 14 high warlord. Let's say you're a leather worker. It's off to Ungoro with you, right? Before it gets too crowded, you got to get that Devilsaur leather. You don't get the first week back of an expansion, okay? And treat this like any other expansion. You're not going to get that back. So if you're one of the first people to hit level 60, you need to have a plan mapped out. And if you think that you're just going to wing it, you're going to be behind, okay? It's like I said, the same concept as being a level 1. You need to know when you hit level 60. It can be very daunting. hitting level 60, because the world opens up to you. What do you do first? Do you get attuned? Do you do dungeons? No, you don't do either of those things. Unless you're in a guild that's going for like the first month Molten Core kill, don't worry about that stuff. You're going to have to wait for other people to get to 60 to run dungeons with you anyways. Week 1, make gold. A lot of gold. If you're a serious raider, you're going to need that gold for consumables, potions, engineering items, all that kind of stuff. So, have a plan. Make a plan for when you hit level 60. Bonus tip, sort of related. When you're leveling, once you're comfortably ahead of the Zerg, make yourself a bank alt. Most of you know what a bank alt is. If you found this video and you don't know what a bank alt is, maybe I'll do one in the future. Essentially, just roll a level 1 character, run him to Orgrimmar or Stormwind, wherever you are, Ironforge. Sit him at a mailbox. Okay, then go back onto your main character, and anything that is worth selling on the auction house, consumables, crafting stuff, crafting recipes especially. Crafting recipes are going to sell for so much money. Alright, anything that is not a gray item that you can sell on the auction house, mail it back to your bank alt, and then once a night, list that on the auction house. Because at the beginning of any launch of a game, the prices are going to be completely unstable, and that is exactly what we are going for. So, make a bank alt, know what you're going to do right when you hit level 60 to take advantage of the fact that you're ahead of the crowd, and get that money in, because that's going to be very important. Tip number 3, have a plan for when you hit level 60. Know what you want to do. That way, when you hit level 60, you don't waste any time trying to plan out what you want to be doing. Okay? Alright, that wraps it up for my 3 tips on how to make your launch smooth as possible. I know getting to level 60 doesn't really count towards your launch, but it'll help you in the long run, believe me. You don't get many resets. Use it wisely. My name is Arctic Bjorn. If you like this video or you found it helpful, make sure to subscribe. On launch week, I'm going to be streaming on Mixer, mixer.com/ArcticBjorn. I'm going to be on from 8 a.m. to probably about midnight Eastern time the whole week. So if you have any questions, if you're new to the game, feel free to stop in. I'm going to be releasing about 2 videos a week. I'm looking to create a series for beginners next time so the casuals can catch up. I'm going to do a series on taking people from casual to hardcore raider. We're going to clear through Nax. It'll be a good time. If you're looking for a guild and you're on Horde PvP and you're on Herod, feel free to join my guild, Pretentious Latin guild name. I'll link it up there. But otherwise, have a good one, and I hope that your classic launch goes well and that you don't act like a casual. See you guys.